Hello, happy Monday and happy March 1st. I am Kristi with ReHash Decor Design, and I cannot even believe it's March already. So welcome to another edition of Miss Lillian's Live and a little workshop. Hello. Say hello as you jump on. It's always fun to see where everybody's from, where everybody's joining us from. So it's already March, you guys. Can you even believe it? And I live here in Indianapolis, so March here means basketball and March Madness. And so our city's preparing for a lot of March Madness. So anyhow, that has nothing to do with what I'm painting tonight. What you can see behind me is hot mess. Can you even believe this? Like, look behind me. This is like crazy. Okay, so I have so many things going on because there is so much fun coming up in March. It's literally March Madness, but it doesn't have anything to do with basketball, but there's like a lot of March Madness going on around this joint. And so I have so much prep going on that I have this little square to paint on tonight. That's it. That's all I had. And so I just don't have anywhere else to go. And I wasn't going to take y'all upstairs. Hello, Marilyn. I wasn't going to take y'all upstairs so that you could listen to dogs bark and who knows what other kind of crazy noises you guys might hear. So this is called Real Life. This is real life behind the scenes with ReHash Decor Design. This is what it looks like in my workshop / basement. It's crazy, you guys. There's just so much stuff going on, but I'm super excited. So stay tuned. It is not at all organized, like not at all. It's lined up a little bit in the back with furniture because my husband got kind of frustrated that my stuff was like all kinds of crazy. But like, it's crazy. You guys, I was only supposed to have like that back area for my little work area, and I have 3/4 of the basement now. So yeah, we're just gonna work with what we've got. So this is lesson 101 for all of you out there who might be thinking of starting a business. You just work with what you got. You work where you're at, you work with what you've got, and you go from there. So tonight, I wanted to talk about prep. Prep. So prep gets a bad rap, and some paint products get a bad rap because of prep. I think there for a while, the big thing you have to, you have to precariously purge everything. Yes, you do. I think there for a while, like there were so many paint lines or kind of the paint slogan like no prep kind of thing. And really what that meant was that maybe you don't have to sand all your pieces before you start painting them. It didn't mean don't clean them. Hey Linda, don't clean them. Don't make sure that they're sanded down like and ready to go if they really, really need it. It doesn't mean like take them from your barn in the backyard and then bring them inside and just start painting them. That's not what it meant. And so I think people got a little bit confused by what does no prep mean. And so people started not prepping their things and then got really frustrated when paint started peeling, or paint wouldn't go down right, or they had a lot of brush strokes all over their things. They got really super frustrated, and then they blamed it on the paint line. And it isn't the paint line, guys. It's all in the prep. And I hate prep as much as the next person in line. Like, I hate it. I will pay my kids to do the prep. And I don't pay my kids for chores. Like, I just don't. I believe that if you live in this house, you contribute to the things around this house. So I do not pay my kids for chores. That's how much I hate prep. I will pay you to prep my furniture. And I will pay you good to prep my furniture because I want it done right. And I'm super particular about it. And I think if you spend the right amount of time doing it, you're gonna be so much happier with your outcome. So we put a lot of time, and we talk about all these decorative finishes and blending and texture and all this kind of stuff. And that's awesome. But if you didn't prep it right, why spend all that time like painting your pieces? Because it's just gonna come off. It's not gonna look right, or it's gonna come off. So you have to prep. Like, it is so important. But I can guarantee you, all these painting people that are on here, they will all tell you, Linda just told you it's no fun. Yeah, every painting person on here will tell you that painting is much more fun, and we would love to spend our days just painting and the creative stuff than prepping. Like, we would just so much prefer that, but it's so important. So for prep, I thought I had a first step prep here that I could literally show you the bottle, but I don't. So what I do is I bring my first step prep home and I put it in a different spray bottle because I usually dump a couple bottles together because I go through so much of it. But you want to grab your first step prep and you want to clean the heck out of your furniture. This piece you can see has been sanded. We're going to work on these two little tables tonight. Just we're going to kind of prep them. But these tables got sanded because they had all kinds of scratches and stuff on them. And while, yes, I'm going to paint them, you guys, paint only hides so much. So they had to be sanded down. So these chairs or these tables got sanded down a little bit so that they're ready to go. So not every piece needs sanded. Some just need a little bit of a hand sand if they have a few scratches, and some need my husband to take his electric sander to it and go to town, right? And so you have to assess that. So get them ready there. Then take your first step prep and go to town and make sure they're clean. And you will be surprised the pieces of furniture that you will look at and you'll be like, oh, totally clean. Probably not going to even get anything off of that. And they will be the dirtiest pieces of furniture that you actually start cleaning. They will be so super dirty. They're sneaky like that. They hide. The other thing that I really like when I'm cleaning my furniture, and you can pick these up on my website. So my website's ReHashDecor.com, so you can pick it up out there too. Are these, they're like a really scruffy, almost like a Scotch pad, like scruffy pad. I don't know what else to call it, but it's really almost a sanding pad, but it's not. You could use it for that, I suppose, though. They're super cheap, you guys, but I take these pads and I will use these when I'm cleaning. You can use them for sanding too, I suppose, but I use them when I'm cleaning. And this is what I do to them. I cut them up into strips. So I can usually cut one of these big ones up into like 4 strips. And I will spray the first step prep on, and then I just use one of these little strips then, and I will use them to like get into the grooves of the wood. And you'll be amazed how much extra crud you'll get out by using this. So this kind of becomes that almost like the sandpaper to clean with. So these are super cheap, but I love them because I think they just go that extra step, that extra layer to get all the gunk and the crud out of your pieces. So take the time to get the first step prep out, and then use these, and then you can just use a paper towel or rag or t-shirt or whatever, but get these scruffy pads and cut them up. They're super inexpensive, and get your piece clean. So once you get your stuff cleaned, you want to you need to make sure, yes, go get you some of those pads. Or if you don't know where to get those pads, you can always head out to the website. Super cheap. So you need to, once you've cleaned it, you need to make sure you let it dry really, really well. And not just dry to the touch, but like dry all the way inside. Make sure it's totally dry inside, because if that wood is not dry and you put paint on it, then you risk the fact that your paint's gonna peel or it's not gonna adhere right or something. So make sure, for sure, that you let your wood dry really, really good. And that doesn't mean that you look at it and you're like, yep, it's dry. I usually will prep my stuff and then I let it sit for quite a while because I am spraying quite a bit of stuff on my piece before to make sure it's clean. And so I know that wood's gotten pretty good and saturated and wet. So I want it to be nice and dry. So how long you let it sit, you know what, that's gonna have to be up to you depending on how much cleaner that you put on it, but make sure you clean it off really, really well. So you're gonna find that some of your pieces have tobacco. I know it's hard to, I at first said I don't want any pieces that have tobacco on them, but honestly, it is very hard to find pieces from, you know, the 50s, 60s era, especially if that's kind of that era that you're looking at, that don't have some type of like tobacco in them or something, just because that was, you know, so super popular, you know, in that day and age, that it's hard sometimes to find that. So just be prepared for that. And that's where these little sanding pads really come in handy, because they will just scuff through some of that sticky tobacco really, really quick. It'll make your job so much easier to get all of that gunk out. But make sure you get that tobacco out, because if you don't, if you're painting with a light color, you're gonna see it. You're gonna see that light tobacco kind of bleed back through your light color paint. You're gonna have that stickiness of the tobacco and your paint is not gonna go on right. So again, just take the time to clean it. And even the cleanest of clean pieces that, you know, like if I went and got something for my mom's house, like she's like the most neatest freak ever, but she loves her pledge. She loves it. And so what happens when you put pledge on it all the time, you get wax buildup. And so you need to get all that wax buildup and stuff off, because if you don't, again, you're not gonna get really good adherence for your paint. So I'm sure you're just all super excited with prep, right? It's so much fun. So now that you've cleaned it, you've got a really good surface. The one thing that I kind of think of it is, if you think about like your own makeup, like you're not gonna put new makeup on with your old makeup on. Like you wash your face first, right? Most people wash your face first and then they put new makeup on. I currently look like I have no makeup on, which is super awesome, but that's all right. It's Monday and we're like in real life around here right now. But that you're not gonna put new makeup on when you got your old on. Like you get up in the morning, you're not like, or you go to bed at night. I don't know. I don't take my makeup off at night. I'm really bad like that. I know I'm probably gonna age like 15 years tonight because I didn't take my makeup off. I don't know. It's all good. I'll just use some more Bondo and spackle tomorrow. But enough about me. So you're not gonna put new, clean, fun paint on this if it's not a clean surface, right? You wanna keep a clean surface. So clean it off, clean its face, and then get ready to put its new makeup on. And that's kind of the joke that we have, that my husband and I have. He'll bring stuff into the basement after he's fixed it in the garage. And he's like, all right, it's our ugly duckling. It's time for you to put its makeup back on it. So that's kind of our thing, is that I put its makeup back on. So now that we've got it clean, kind of one of my favorite products, and Marilyn, if you're still on here, like I'm pretty sure you're gonna need this for just for me. I don't know if anybody else needs it, but I'm gonna need some swamp mud in like gallon sizes, for sure, gallon sizes. Because I tried to paint a couple pieces without swamp mud or without any primer, because I thought I'm good, like it probably doesn't need any primer, and I just couldn't do it. Like I couldn't do it. It just doesn't stick right, you guys. I have to have my primer. I have to have my swamp mud. I'm pretty sure I'm addicted to this stuff. Pretty sure. So I need it in some gallon sizes because I go through it way too quick. So swamp mud. Yeah, there's my light acting crazy. So swamp mud, backwards. So read backwards. Yes, gallon, Marilyn, gallon size swamp mud. And when I come see my parents in Tennessee, I'm just gonna swing right on by. You just set it outside and I'll pick it up. I'm gonna need some gallon size. Swamp mud is one of my favorite things, like favorite things. It makes the paint go on so much better, you guys. See, I'm not the only one, Marilyn. We need gallon size. Us retailers, we need gallon size. It just goes on so much better, you guys. This is a primer. It's a base coat. It can act as a primer. It's got a little bit of texture in it. I didn't grab, because it's Monday, I didn't grab the other primer, which is called Preventive. And I think you may have seen me paint with Preventive. Well, some of you probably haven't, but on my other page, I have painted with Preventive. But there's another prep that you can use that's called Preventive. And it's basically your primer and shellac based all together. So if you have something that's going to bleed through, like you have to kind of look at your wood. Do you have like a mahogany or a cherry or something that you think is going to bleed through? You need to use a primer that is going to be something that seals off that wood so that you don't get those pink tannins kind of bleeding through your paint. And so the Preventive gives you that primer and the shellac all in one, so you can use that. So that's Preventive. I don't use that near as frequently as I use swamp mud. Like I use swamp mud, like I said, I need gallon sizes. I go through it so much. So swamp mud comes in all kinds of different colors. It does have that texture. So the other thing to keep in mind with swamp mud is if you have like a slick surface, think of all that French provincial furniture out there that has a really slick surface. So if you have kind of that Formica type slicky surface, this is great because it has that texture, just enough texture that it's going to give the paint something to grip onto. And if it's, you know, like something like this, it's, you know, doesn't really need something to grip onto, it's still going to give it something to grip onto. And I think that's why I love it so much, because if you put this on, then it has something to grip onto and it grips onto it evenly. So especially if you've had to sand in maybe a couple spots on your piece, now your paint's going to grip differently in that spot than the spot you didn't sand onto. And so I just think it just creates that smooth coat. When I put my makeup on in the morning, I put on a makeup primer, and people say that's supposed to make your foundation go on super evenly. I don't know if it does, but we're going to say it does. And so that's kind of what this is supposed to do too. But swamp mud comes in different colors because you're all going to paint with different color paint, right? And so you want your base color to be close to the color that you're painting so that you don't have to work so hard and use so many coats of paint to get a really smooth, full coverage coat of paint. And so I really feel like too, I use less paint by putting down that base coat. So I just think it helps a ton. So I have in front of me, I have off-white. I also have black. These are probably the ones I use the most frequent. I have dark brown. So dark brown is the dark brown. There's also a light brown. I don't have that out with me tonight. And then this is the dark gray. And then there's also a light gray that I use a lot. There's also red, and there is kind of a royal blue color. There's just a blue, with a royal blue color. I don't use those as frequently, but think about it. If you're painting black, you don't want to start with a white base, because your first coat's gray, and then you have just those little white specks showing through. So if you start with black, and you paint with black, then your job's like super duper easy, right? Or if you're just going to paint with a darker color, it just makes things so much easier. But likewise, if you're going to paint with white, I don't paint with white. That's not my gig. But if you're going to paint with white and you put down that white swamp mud, it just makes your job so much easier to paint that white. So there you go. So what we're going to do is I'm going to show you, we're going to use some swamp mud tonight because I don't want to just talk at you the whole time. So I'm going to show you why swamp mud is so freaking awesome and why y'all need it. So we got my brush. This is one of my favorite brushes. But I got my brush. And I'm going to use black. I don't even know what color I'm going to paint these tables. I don't even know. I just don't even know. Because last night I was like, I don't even know what piece of furniture I'm going to paint because I have a tiny little square that I'm working with here, guys. So we're going to just go with it. Hopefully y'all can't see. That's awesome. Hopefully. You might not be able to see me, but that's all good. I'm going to get this text off my screen. Okay. So, shake it up really good because it does have some texture in it. And you want to make sure that you get all that texture kind of off the bottom. You could use a spoon. I usually use a spoon, but I don't have one around me right now, so we're just going to shake it up. You can sing a little song, the song Shake It Up, if you need to, if that makes you happy. Okay. I'm going to use what's in my lid first. Okay, so I'm gonna get some on my brush and paint where you can't see, because that seems to be how I roll tonight. And we're just going to paint this on. So I'm showing you the black, because I'll probably paint this a dark color anyway. I don't know. I'm going to be locked into a dark color now, but that's okay. But what I think is awesome is I want to show you this black, because if you think about this, like, you almost only have to have one coat of the black paint after you have painted the swamp mud on. Okay, I'm gonna lift this up just because I'm gonna lift it up before I get too much painted and then I get paint all over me. Look at that, you guys. Look how amazing that is. Like, that's just your base coat. That is just swamp mud. That's just your base coat. That's not paint. Like, that's not Miss Lillian's awesome paint. That's just your base coat. And you don't really see the texture. It's magic. So you don't really see the texture. You don't necessarily feel the texture. It's not like there's this, it's not like texture magic where you're gonna see that texture on here. You're still gonna get that really smooth finish that you love. But I promise you that this is gonna make your life like super duper easy. So if you have not tried any of this, then you need to go out and get you some, for sure. I think I picked the most awkward thing to paint in a small square space in clothes that shouldn't get paint on them. How many paint? So I typically put one coat of swamp mud, but there are instances where, like especially with the white, the off-white color, the lighter colors, that I might go through and put two coats. So sometimes it just depends on the wood. If there's a wood that's been sanded down and it's, you know, a raw wood that's just really old and dry, sometimes it's gonna soak this up, and you're gonna feel like, gosh, did I put anything on that? And so you might need a second coat. But a lot of times you can get away with just one coat of the swamp mud. And that gives it enough of a base coat and enough grip that when you put your paint on, it's perfect. What else we got there? Well, see, there you go. Kelly does two coats. What else? Well, you ask if I scuff sanded. This got sanded, yes, but it only got sanded because it had to get sanded, because it was kind of in rough shape. But you don't have to scuff sand it. If you want to scuff sand, you certainly can, but it's not a requirement. What is a requirement is cleaning. Cleaning your piece, making sure your piece is super clean, and free from, you know, dust, debris, tobacco, all the gunk and stuff that collects on it, you know, over time. That's what is absolutely necessary. So with, you know, saying that, you know, do we do 1 or 2 coats? Again, it might be personal preference too, and the type of wood that you're, you know, type of furniture that you're using. So like this piece, I'm only going to do the 1. I'm not going to do 2 coats of swamp mud on this piece. I'll only do the 1, and then I'll start paint. So there you go. Let's see what other questions we got. And you're going to see my finger in here. I'm sure that's exactly what you wanted to see. I am not sure who's on here that can answer about kitchen cabinets. I'm not a kitchen cabinet girl. I am not sure about the kitchen cabinets. I have not painted kitchen cabinets. So yeah, we do have the Ultimate Kitchen Cabinet product, which would be the best paint for sure, which is going to be formulated more for that area. But I have not painted any kitchen cabinets, and I'm certainly not the expert on that area. I did paint my outdoor chairs. I painted my outdoor rocking chairs. Yeah, I painted my outdoor rocking chairs, and they were a hot mess too. You know, I mean, obviously they'd sat out in the weather, and they were a little bit slick kind of in their finish too. So after I sanded off any of the paint that was peeling on them before, I took the swamp mud, and I did use it on them before I used the paint. And I used the front door paint on it. So I didn't use just the regular chalk paint on it. I wanted that built-in kind of top coat. And they held up really super well this summer. But I did use that on them before I painted, just so I didn't have to do so many coats. But you can see this almost just looks like I'm painting this little table black, because it is such a good even finish. No, it doesn't stop tannins. Definitely doesn't. And that's what prevention would be for. You would want prevention for the tannins if you've got tannin bleed through, or if you have a wood that you think is going to be what I call a bleeder. So you kind of have to assess that. And sometimes you'll get a piece of wood that you think, oh, that's definitely not going to bleed, and then it does. But for the most part, you know if a wood is going to be a bleeder. And then you would definitely want to accommodate for that with the prevention instead. And the prevention's not going to come in different colors, but you could put the prevention down first if you wanted to. You could put the prevention down first and block off all those tannins, and then you could add the swamp mud afterwards. So what do you guys think? Loving the swamp mud look? Who's ready to dig in and try this? I promise you, you'll become addicted. And I love that there is so many colors for swamp mud. It's not just gray and white. You've got all the different colors. I mean, think about the red, you guys. How difficult is red to paint? It always wants to look pink. So it's so awesome that you can buy a red primer and then your red paints go on super smooth. They go on red that first time, and you will save so much paint when you start out with your paint base already being red. You're not starting out with it being white or gray. So you don't have to kind of build up to the color at all. So I love it. Over here and get our little areas that I could not see over there. These cute little nesting tables. Probably won't get both of them painted tonight, but you guys can get the idea with one of them how this all works. Yeah, they are pretty colors. They're, because they are super bright. They're super bold. You could totally use these as your base colors if you wanted to. And I think that's what's really nice too, is that you don't, once you've let this dry, so you're going to want to, if you're going to paint this too, you're going to want to make sure that this is really good and dry. If you don't let this dry really, really well and make sure that, you know, your swamp mud is dried really well, then when you go to paint, you do kind of risk that it'll start to pull up with your, you know, before it's dry. So you don't want it to do that. So make sure that it's really good and dry so that when you go to put your chalk paint on, that you're not pulling it back to the wood before it's, you know, done curing. So I usually make sure, I usually leave mine overnight. You probably don't have to leave it that long, but I usually leave mine overnight just so I can make sure that it's gotten plenty of time to cure. And then as I'm, you know, blending my paints, oh, I totally forgot a spot there. And then as I'm blending my paints, or as I'm, you know, doing texture or whatever, now I'm not fighting against the, I'm not fighting against the wood grains and those peeking through. I'm just fighting against this under, you know, the color underneath here. And many times it just matches what you're doing. And so if there's a little bit peeking through and you're maybe doing a blending job, or you're messing with textures or things like that, like, it's okay. It makes your job so much easier. But even look at that top. Look how easy that is to cover that up, just in that one coat. And then when you go to put on your black paint, it's gonna just cover so nice. So for those that are maybe coming on in the middle, prep is just so important, you guys. Cleaning it. You have to make sure all those oils are gone. All the oils, the tobacco, the waxes, like all of that. If you don't get all that off, you might think it's the paint that's bad or the paint company that's bad. And really it's not, it's just that you didn't clean your piece. And so I see a lot of questions on different forums where people will, you know, ask questions about what did I do wrong? What happened here? And a lot of times it just boils down to, you know, not cleaning it or not cleaning it well. So take the time to clean it. Nobody likes to do it. Everybody hates the cleaning part of it. But there are some pieces, some of the bigger pieces, that can literally take me an hour or two or more sometimes to clean. By the time you're cleaning in detail work, I mean literally down to taking a wire brush or a toothbrush to get in the details to make sure that all those things are cleaned out. But it will make your paint last. It will make it go on smooth. You'll be happier with the finish. And if you're gonna spend all that time to paint it and come up with those creative finishes, you might as well take the time to make sure that you have cleaned it well so that you're happy with the outcome. Just do these little ends here, and then we've done our swamp mud for this little table. So now I'll just let this little table dry, and then we'll be ready for paint. And whatever paint I select for this little table, I mean, I can select a, goodness, I didn't do this side either. I can select a dark color of paint, you know, a brighter color. I obviously am not going to select, you know, white or something like that, but as long as I pick a darker color, even though it's black that's underneath, it's not a big deal that it's black, but it'll give me a really good solid base, and my paint is going to go on so much smoother than if I were to start out on that wood, which doesn't have even tones on it, you know, all across because it's been sanded down. So for those of you that ask, you know, do I have to do a scuff sand? You don't have to, but you might want to do a scuff sand, or you might have areas that have scratches on it that you need to just hand sand. And if you're just hand sanding those little scratches off or whatever, then you're going to have uneven spots on your wood, and the paint is going to take differently to those spots than it does others. So it's just kind of nice to have an even playing field, an even primed playing field when you start from. So it's just like putting your makeup on. You start with a clean slate by cleaning it, and then you put your primer on, and now you're ready to put your makeup on. So get you some of these scuffy pads. Again, if you need to, they're out on our website at rehashdecor.com. I cut them into strips like this so that I can get like 4 strips out of one pad. They're super inexpensive, but they help you get those pieces so much cleaner. You can get in all the crevices. You can, you know, get all that tobacco off. It just scuffs it right off. So spray your first step prep on and then scuff all of that off. So it just works so well. So hopefully that helps give you guys some tips and some tricks and stuff on your prep work. And then hopefully you guys learned a little bit about swamp mud. And you guys will try it out and become as addicted as the rest of us are. Lord knows that we need it in gallon sizes, for sure. I need it in gallon sizes. Between this and the Luster products, I need gallons of all of that. So anyway, you guys have a great rest of your week. There is so much fun stuff coming up in March that literally it's like March Madness, but not with basketball. So be watching the Facebook pages for Swamp Mud for Life. Be watching the Facebook pages for all kinds of fun announcements coming. You'll be able to see, hopefully, some stuff over on our page. So hop over to rehashdecor.com if you want to watch for more crazy fun, real life. I don't know. We're just crazy over there. So I try to do some more lives and show more fun stuff with the furniture pieces and demos and things like that. So hop over there for some more fun. And clearly I have a lot going on in my workshop, so there will be a lot of fun happening this month from here. So you guys have a great rest of your week. I hope the sun's shining where you are this week, and we will talk again soon. Take care, guys.